track wrestling here at the NAIA National Championships with Missouri Valley coach Mike Machholz. One of the veterans in the coaching community in this level. You've seen quite a change at this level. I mean, back in the 90s, what was the low point in terms of program numbers?
I think we were 21 at that point. I mean, when I first started in 90, we were over 60, but we lost the Colorado Conference and Minnesota Conference all at the same time frame. I think we lost almost 30 programs in 1 year. They all went Division II. So we shrank, and then Title IX kind of came about, and it really started to pare us down, and we were losing wrestling programs in every division, but the NAIA was hit pretty hard right then. It seemed like we would gain 2, lose 3 there for quite a while, you know, type of a deal. And, we got down to the low 20s, and we just needed to find some solutions and grow. And now, you know, we're looking, and we're in the 60s now, low 60s, probably be in the low 70s next year. So we're really growing right now.
What were turning points? How did you guys turn the tide?
Well, it was a lot of grassroots, just talking to people out there in our conferences, other institutions, getting your athletic directors involved, because the schools that had wrestling didn't want to lose it. And we really weren't in a position where we could go to a Division III or Division II or something else. That really wasn't an option. So we had to get proactive and talk to people within the conferences and say, hey, look, this is what we've got to do. And then the NWCA started to feel the pinch in all the divisions, and they started to be proactive as well, and started to sing the song. And I think you'll hear Mike Moyer talk a lot of times about how the NAIA is the fastest growing division in sports, and in wrestling anyway. And I think that's kind of how we've done it, you know. And now in our division, most of these colleges and universities are tuition driven. So they see a model that's out there where we can add a sport, make money in the grand scheme of it, not cost a lot, but actually make some money and get a whole different type of clientele on campus that we never would be tapped into. So it's an opportunity for them to see it. It's really easy for them to pick it up now. It's just taken us a long time to get it out there to all the conferences. And also, another thing that's happened, you know, the NAIA is we've switched over from that regional qualifier model to a conference qualifier model. And once you have 6 teams in your conference, and it's a conference sport, well, that puts the onus on the other 6 teams in that conference to start to add. And that's happened, you know. So now we have 8 conferences out there that are formed for qualifiers, and I think we'll see very shortly, we'll see an expansion in that end of it as well.
How much fear was there 20, 25 years ago that NAIA wrestling might go away?
Scared to death. I mean, literally, when we got down there in the low 20s, it was like, man, we're in trouble. We've got to do something right now. One of those things that we did that's unique to our sport, aside from trying to grow more programs, we decided we needed to grow our numbers within the actual championship, because we were shrinking so much. So that's where we came up with add two more guys to the mix, so you can double up in a couple of weight classes, or 6 if you wanted. You can just take 12 guys. And that was when I was the president of the Coaches Association back then, and I actually was recruiting somebody out of Idaho and found out that they could double up at every weight class. I thought, man, what a great deal. And I knew I had 2 studs in one weight class, so we got to figure out how to get them all there. And that's kind of where that came from. So there was a kind of a double thing, you know, get our numbers up and team.
So you were behind that, huh?
Yeah, that was me. Been around a long time doing this.
Do you think that you envision that that's just going to be part of the DNA of NAIA wrestling for years to come?
I sure hope so. I think it's something that's very unique to us. It allows us to get quality kids in our room, because they can see the opportunity. They're not just stuck behind that, you know, superstar kid for the next 4 years. They got an opportunity to still get to the national championships. And I get a lot of Division I guys talking about this. Man, I wish we could do that. You know, it's so cool, because we wouldn't have to push guys around in weight classes and stuff like that. As long as I'm around, I hope it's still here. I think everybody likes it, you know, within our division. And again, something just really unique for us.
How has this tournament changed in the last decade?
We've gotten immensely tougher. For anybody that hasn't seen an NAIA championship, you know, for for even 7, 8 years, you need to come and watch this tournament. It's completely different. We've got All-Americans, national champions that aren't placing. We got guys, they're meeting up in the first rounds, you know, because they may not have placed well in their conference. These new schools coming in, they have awesome competition, you know, and they're able to get those 3 or 4 studs right off the bat. And then, you know, it's knocking dudes out that literally, you know, should be placing, but it's gotten so deep. You know, we changed our qualifier. We're really running kind of the Division I Big Ten model on how you qualify for the championships, which is made some legitimacy to getting to the tournament. There's no easy matches out here. These kids got to battle all the way through, and it's kind of proved where we used to have. Now you got Grandview who's doing their thing, but you used to have several teams that would have, you know, 7, 8, 9, 10 All-Americans. Well, when you get 3 or 4, you know, in there, then you're placing fairly high as a group, and that shows the depth within this tournament.
Was it at any point strange that you're going to bat for programs that you're going to be competing against?
It's kind of, yeah, it is. It's kind of interesting dynamic. You know, when I sit back and look at it later, you know, when I'm not really still coaching and doing this thing, you know, I'll see that it's really awesome, right? But man, it's actually easier to start a new program and be competitive very quickly than it is to take over somebody else's culture and change that culture and reinvent it. So that's why you're seeing a lot of these new programs coming in, and they're making a splash very quickly. You know, Reinhardt, they're having an awesome tournament this year. A lot of these programs are able to be very competitive. So, and it is a little different, and this is 30 years almost, well, 28 years of this for me, so it's kind of strange in some ways.
What are you most proud of what you've seen NAIA wrestling turn into here?
Well, you know, we've always fought the NCAA, you know, logo for everything, you know, just getting a little bit of notoriety. And I think the folks that are in collegiate wrestling and actually get a chance to see the NAIA and compete against us, they understand that we're a very good division. You know, we have academic scholarships, we have athletic scholarships. We're very similar to Division II. You know, I've heard it in the past, well, you guys are below junior college. No, we're not. We're very competitive with all the division, the NCAA divisions out there. Yes, you have the elite Division I's that are blowing everybody out of the box, but a lot of us wrestle Division I competition all year long, and we're very competitive in there. I'm not saying we're going to go win that championship, but we wrestle those guys all year, and we get our wins. There's a lot more respect there, I think, and that's important. You know, in our world, you know, of wrestling, I think everybody kind of gets a better idea that, hey, there's some great competition in that NAIA division. What does
NAIA wrestling look like in 10 years?
Probably the biggest division in wrestling. I really believe that. I think if you talk to the NWCA, I think they believe it too. Because we don't have all of the red tape that maybe the NCAA has to be able to add programs and do that. We're in the forefront of women's wrestling, and that was during, you know, I was the president at that time. We started the very first program out there in women's with, you know, to award scholarships. But because we can add those very easily, and everybody's kind of tuition driven, they see the business model there, we're going to continue to grow, and it will expand like we were talking about within the conferences. It's just going to explode. We're on the cusp of it. We thought we had 2 or 3 teams getting ready to add. Well, we have at least 11 that I know of for next year, and there's another 7 or 8 that are on the bubble for the year after. So we're going to explode. And I think that's going to be really awesome for wrestling and certainly for the NAIA.
What went into getting the women's program off the ground there?
Well, there were rumblings back then. You know, that was 2000. I think after '96 Olympics, they started talking about women's wrestling a little bit. You know, about how they could maybe bring that into the Olympic fold. In 2000, a lot of it didn't quite happen that early, but 2000 they were talking about it. And, you know, light bulb was going off in my head. So, well, shoot, if they're gonna have it in the Olympics, might as well be some of our girls wrestling in it. You know, maybe they're going to be, maybe some of us, you know, they get a chance to coach it. So that was really my light bulb moment, and I said, well, let's be on the forefront. Let's don't have to add it. Let's be the ones that start it. And that's kind of, we jumped on board with a couple other programs in the NAIA that, you know, kind of got the ball rolling for women's wrestling. And pretty proud of where it's come now. You know, Clarissa Chun was one of ours, Lee Jane's one of ours. It's great to see those gals staying in there and getting their accolades. It's really pretty cool.